Hi and good afternoon. Today's date is 30th of August and I'm in the kitchen about to do some canning. I got myself a new tool and I wanted to show you and share what I'm doing with it. Let me show you. I got myself a pressure canner. It's huge, guys. It is very big. It actually is big. These pots are big, but the pressure canner is bigger. So yeah, so the plan is to get all my tomatoes, which I made yesterday. This is tomato with onion and olive oil. And then I've got another one here, which is tomato with olive oil and garlic. So I'm going to put them into the jars, some of which are here. And then we're going to get them into there and we're going to can them up. It is lovely, beautiful. And to can, I'm going to be on level 2, which will be the right amount. I chose to get myself a canner which is not electric because of the fact that in the process of doing the water bath canning I've been doing, I've found that canning on gas is cheaper than if I used electricity, which is why I'm going to continue that. I'm looking forward to this because it takes less time to can stuff than it does to use the water bathing, and also it means I can do my meats and have meals in jars, which is something I'd love to have available to me. It helps me to look forward to the fact that I've still got more tomatoes to process, courgettes to process, and a few other bits and pieces. So I'm going to read it up and then I'll show you what it looks like when I've put it together. Nick from That British Homestead is doing a lot of series on canning now that she's actually doing her harvest. And one of the things she does is she talks about how she does it and she does some lives on it. She's the person who got me into it and gave me the confidence to actually start trying to do some canning, because before this I was not able to can because I was worried about it. But today I'm going to be doing some more canning, and I've already done a lot of canning. Let me show you some of the bits I've done so far. This is in my husband's cupboard, and in here I made him some small jars of tomato to size that fit his current chosen way of eating, which minimizes carbohydrates. And if you do not know it, carbohydrates exist within tomatoes, especially the sweeter they are, the more sugar they have. So these small cans are enough for him for a portion. So if you were wanting to portion out your foods, you could do that. In this cupboard here, I've got some courgettes, which I canned just as is. And I didn't even put any water in them. And did I put water in them? Maybe I did. And they came out like this. So that's one thing I've canned. I've got tomato, onion, olive oil, and some beans, some velouté beans, canned beans, which I then added to the mix. And this is just olive oil, tomato, and onion. This is just tomato on its own. And up here, I also canned, let me bring them down. I also canned some cherry tomatoes, and I didn't put any water in them, but they produce their own juices in the process of the canning. So yeah, so let's get on and get canning. I'm using lug jars today, although these mason jars work well as well. But I like the idea of the lug jars because they're easier to open, even when you don't have an opener. These have a special opener that I use to open them, and they opens very easily. But without it, it can be a little bit of a struggle. Okay, let me get on. First thing I need to do is I'm going to wash all my jugs in warm soapy water. And then when they're done, I'm going to fill them with the tomatoes. And then I'll get them into the canner and show you. Before I start washing the jars, I thought I better start by washing this canner. And the canner comes with 2 trivets, which means that you can actually double the layer of jars that you put in it, in order that you can actually can more at the same time. Something else that is very positive in my eyes. So I'm going to start by washing these, and then we'll get going. You put this in order to protect your jars, because were you to put the jars directly into there without any cushioning, then the jars can crack. But with this in place, it actually allows you to, just like that, it allows you to sit the jars on there. So I'm going to work out how many jars I can use, and then I will be sorting it out and canning as many jars as I can use. Genius that I am, I've just worked out that I don't need to lift everything to put it into the big saucepan because of the fact that my arm is bad, and I've just discovered that my arm is worse than I thought it was. I had an MRI, and so I'm on rest, which is why we're talking about canning rather than gardening. My sisters just came and helped me with the harvest because I can't do any of that for now. I have to fully rest my arm because post-surgery I was doing my physio exercises as I was told to, and I ended up injuring something. Told the doctor, and the doctor just dismissed it. But when I got back to work, because of the being lucky enough to work in the right department, I spoke to the right people who had a look and then recommended that I have a scan. So I went back to the clinic and got it all sorted. So I've been scanned and I need to rest the arm. So the arm is being rested. So that is my current story. So let's have a look at what I'm doing here. So I'm putting on the jars to see how many jars I can put on there. And the important thing is to make sure that the center part is open so that all the steam and the pressures can go all the way through. At least that's what I heard someone say. And you have to make sure that your jars are not touching each other. So you have to space them out enough to make sure that they're not touching each other. I will be reading the instructions before I start the canning process altogether. So they're sitting on the edge. Now, I don't know whether you put it in upside down or whether you put it in the other way around, but we shall see. I feel like maybe you put it in the other way around. So that's what I'm assuming you do, but I might be wrong. Anyway, you do that and then you get the second trivet. Where is the second trivet? This is the second trivet, which then allows you to put more on top of there. So without injuring the other jars. So that means that we can have a total of 16 jars in there of this size, and then if I have the bigger jars, then obviously you might have less, but I think it works. Exciting things. Right, let me get on. Okay, jars are clean. I'm about to add a bit of lemon juice, or you can use vinegar to each of the jars in order to reduce the risk of food poisoning from canning. It just increases the acidity of the tomatoes a little bit and makes them safer. So we're just going to do that, and then I'll start scooping everything and putting it in. I haven't got a stand here because the stand is at the allotment. So I'll just show you when I'm done. The first pot has given me 8 cans, which will go in the bottom, together with one in which I've put the tomatoes because it was half a can, and I've put some of my yellow beans in there to see how it turns out. So I'm now just going to wipe them off with a little bit of vinegar. So all you do is you get your vinegar and you wipe around the jars, neck and top, in order to make sure that you get a good seal when you finally put the covers on. Okay guys, these have gone in, and now I'm just about to add my 3rd liter of water, because you can put up to 3. I've seen a lot of people doing 2 to 3, so I've done 3 to be safe. You obviously need to take this off so that it doesn't get burnt onto it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cover up and then come back and explain what I do next. This is on. So what I'll need to do is I will need to wait for it to... Actually, I need to start it off here on the steam. And then when it actually has been steaming for 10 minutes, then I'll change the pressure to number 2, which will bring me to about 10, which is where I need to be in order to pressurize these properly. And once I hit that pressure point and have worked out what level to keep my heat up in order to keep the pressure canner at that level, then I'll start my timer. And both the beans and the tomatoes, according to my instructions, need just 25 minutes and they'll be canned. And then what I'll do is I'll turn off the heat and let the pressure canner depressurize all of its own accord. And then once it's cooled down a bit, I'll open it up and take my pots out. So because there's very little water in there, my expectation is even if I was to leave it, it would be all right. Because if it's too late in the night, I'm not waiting. The other day I did some pressure canning of meat, and I had to do... No, I didn't pressure can. I water bathed, and that's 3 hours. So having this is absolutely fantastic. So if I was doing these tomatoes in a pot with just water and water bathing them rather than pressure canning them, that would be, I think it's 45 minutes or 40 minutes. And now it's going to take me 25. For meat, it's 3 hours. And with this, it would take me 90 minutes. So half the time, kind of. Right, guys, I'm going to leave this. And then when it pressurizes, I'll bring you back. I know you can't see it, but we've got steam coming out of the nozzle here. So I've set the timer. I'm going to run that for 10 minutes. And then when it's at 10 minutes, we will come back and I'll tell you what the next step is. Okay, guys, and now that the steam has been going for 10 minutes, it is time to move this there's one, and it has to be on this notch there. So I need to move it one more to 2. And then what we should see happening is the pressure will start to move up from where it is at 0. That pressure number should be at number 2 is where we want it to be ultimately. And then whilst it's there, we'll need to then turn down the heat to ensure that we don't have steam coming from here. And that will be the pressure we need in order to then start running the timer, which will run for 25 minutes, after which we'll turn it off and wait for everything to cool down before we actually open the pressure canner. It's also a pressure cooker, so you can actually cook normal food in it. Okay, as we've come up to the right pressure, what's happening is the canner is now starting to vent a little bit of steam. So at this point, what you then need to do is you then need to turn the heat down in order to maintain the pressure whilst also reducing the venting. So I'm turning it down a little bit at a time to see what the number is. And the good thing is I've got numbers, so I'll be able to work out what the right temperature will be in order to maintain the pressure whilst also reducing the venting. So now I'm just going to start the timer. Okay, 25 minutes. Okay, guys, what I have changed slightly is I've actually gone up to the number 3 pressure, and then I'm actually controlling where it sits by reducing the heat so it sits at 2 rather than going all the way up to number 3, because I want it to sit properly within the 2. And I'm noticing that if I actually reduce the heat, then it's going below the 2. So right like this, I'll work out what number gives me the right pressure that sits at 2 and doesn't go all the way up to 3, and that'll be perfect for me. So this is the way I'm going to work it, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the right pressures for this. All right, let's carry on. I decided to have a look at my amount of gas I'm using, because I have a smart meter, and at the moment it's at £1.17. I didn't check it before. I should have done. Next time I will, to see how much it costs me to do this canning. I am sure that running the cooker, gas cooker, for at least 3 hours would cost me more than it's costing me to run it for less, because I definitely want to be doing some meals in jars, because one of the things I find is when I'm working, I actually get really, really tired, because I commute, and commuting is not easy for those of you who know. So you get tired, and when you get tired, you come home, you don't want to eat. So you either stop off somewhere and end up choosing the wrong foods that you should not be eating, or you end up eating crappy stuff when you get home because you don't want to cook. So imagine if you have a jar with a whole meal, and I tend to eat high protein, high fat, low carbs. So if I have my jars ready, all I do is open a jar, stick it in a bowl, heat it up in the microwave, and I'm sitting down to a home cooked meal with all the fresh ingredients that I have, and I will appreciate it more. So for me, this is a game changer. So I've been looking at recipes. The booklet that came with the instructions has recipes in it. So I'm going to be trying out those recipes. And if anyone is interested in me trying those recipes out and recording them for you, do let me know. One of the recipes I really, really want to do is beef in red wine sauce. Honestly, I just saw this lovely recipe on YouTube and I'm going to try it out to see how good it is. I just have this craving for it, because when you make a very good beef in red wine sauce, it's absolutely delicious, and once you've had it, it can be as good as restaurant food. So that's something I want to do when I have a bit more energy. Because yeah, I'm still tired. My sister is coming tomorrow to pick up some tomatoes. My other sister was here today. She took tomatoes, courgettes, yellow beans, aubergines. She took a whole lot of stuff, and it is a relief to see the kitchen a little bit more empty. But because let me show you what my sister will be collecting tomorrow. She's got a box of tomatoes. Let me just show them to you. This is the box that is waiting for her, so that she can actually take it home, process it, and do what she will with it. And when that box is gone, I've still got a whole lot of tomatoes which are not quite ripe yet, and I've left these here because I'm thinking that I'll probably process them. These are my rose crush, so I need to do some processing of the rose crush that I left in order that I can make some more sauces, because once I need jars, if I have guests, I'll need jars of tomato to cook whatever meals I'm cooking. So I plan to use my own tomatoes. This is Alice's Dream, which I want to try, which is why it's sitting here and not processed. So tomorrow I need to give it a go and see what it's like. That's perfect timing. 25 minutes is up, and what I did is my cooker is now running at the lowest level, which is on number 1 for the fire, the minimum fire, and it's sitting just above 2. So I now know what I need, so I'm just going to turn it off. Give me a moment. And so what we do is, once it's turned off, we let it sit until it depressurizes. You do not try to depressurize it manually. You just let it depressurize by itself. Apparently that can take up to 40 minutes, and then once it's depressurized, you give it another 10 minutes before you then open it. So what I'll do is I'll put on what time is it now? Okay, so it will be 9:30 near about when I actually finally depressurize it. So I'm going to set the timer again so that I've actually got it. In fact, I'll set it on my watch, and then we'll come back and have a look then. Now that my timer is set, I can actually go and relax, because this was my first time using the pressure canner, so I did not wish to leave it unattended until I understood how it works and what it achieves and what settings I need to have it on in order to get everything running the way it does. So now that I know, I won't have to stand and watch over it. Okay, it's not hit the 55 minutes I'd set, and already I can actually open it. So I'm just slowly opening it. Hold on 2 seconds. Let's move you back a little bit. It opens quite easily. So let me just open it, and then I'll take my cans out before I go to bed. If some of these are still boiling, and to ensure that you don't actually move the cans from a place that is extremely hot to a place that is cold, what I've done is I've set up a tray with a tea towel on it to maintain their temperatures up to a certain extent. So what we're going to do is we're going to start pulling them out now. Okay, to pull them out, I'm using this, which is a jar holder. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to show you the one, and I'm going to grab it and hope that everything comes out at once. That's it. So this is how it holds it. So this is what we need. So I'm going to move them all out of there, and then I'll leave them overnight, 12 hours, and then after that, sorry, I just need to change my hand. Okay, so 12 hours after they come out, it will be okay for me to start moving them. So I'll wait 12 to 15 hours to 24 hours, even as I say 12, and then we'll move them and store them. I think one of them siphoned a little bit, but I'm not sure which one that is. But if they seal, they'll be fine. Which one siphoned? I think I can see which one it is, maybe. There is one of these. Yes, it's the one that is half empty, isn't it? Yeah. Or is it? I don't know. I think it may be that one of them was a bit over full, and that is why it leaked a little bit. but we'll see. If tomorrow there's one that is not sealed, because what you do is the next day you check and see, then that one I'll use immediately. It's not like I won't want to. I think it's this one, the one with too many beans in. When you're placing them on this tray, you have to make sure that you give them space. You don't make them touch. At least that's what everyone who I've seen doing this does. So they have to have space away from each other. So I'm going to make sure that I try and set them up so they fit, whilst also giving each jug enough space that it won't touch another jug. I think that's quite important. I don't know why, but I think it's important. So I'm just going to carry on now. Okay, all the jars are out and some of them are still boiling away even now that they're out. So we're just going to leave them to sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll be checking them. So as you can see, most of them, they haven't started to create a vacuum. So in the morning we'll check to see which ones have created vacuums and which one haven't. I got these jars from Hobbycraft, and what I've noticed is not all the lids were closing as well as they should. So although I like the idea of lug jars, it may be that I have to go for the mason jars in the future, where you know that once you've sealed, you've sealed. But anyway, they still worked. Good morning. I'm just about to make my coffee. It is morning, and I thought I'll bring you back in order that we can have a look at the jars as the ending to this video, because you need to understand exactly what your jars should look like when you are doing this in order to be safe. Let me show you. Okay, my jars have been sitting here overnight, and I can already see, even without showing you with the knife, that two of them have not sealed properly. And that's absolutely fine, because what I will do is I will actually be using them before I use anything else. And it's interesting that the ones that haven't sealed are the ones that had this one with the beans, that one with the courgettes, this one with the beans actually sealed. So I can see two, and there are two ways you can actually check these jars to see whether or not they've sealed. Hold on. This jar is sealed. Listen to that. And then this jar is sealed, but then this jar is not sealed. Do you hear the difference? So this jar is not sealed. The other thing you can notice with the lug jars is you can actually push it in, whilst with this one here, there's no give when I actually push on it. Another thing that you can do to check is this. You get yourself something level and you place it on the jar, across the jar, and what you'll see is there'll be a space in the middle of the jar showing you that the cup has pulled in and it's sealed. On the jar that is not sealed, like this one here, you can actually see that it's actually touching the whole thing. So I'm going to take a picture of each of these and then put them side by side, because that's the only way you can then see what it is I mean. That this one has a bit of a space in between where it's actually, there's a space, and this one, let's take a picture here as well. This one, you see, this one is sealed, and you can actually see the space very, very beautifully. And yet on this one here, when you place your knife or whatever across it, it's not sealed. So that is a way in which you check for sealing. Now, if you wanted to reseal this because you don't want to use it immediately and you want to be able to save it for another day, you would actually recan it. So for me, the fact that it actually siphons suggests that I overfilled it. So I probably should have kept it up to about here, because it's probably when it was boiling, it overboiled a lot. And therefore, I think in the future, I've learned a lesson. Another one that's siphoned is this one here. This one did not seal either. You see, look. I don't know if that comes across as well as it should on video, but you can actually hear a difference in the sound. So those two I'm going to put in the fridge and use within today and tomorrow, because I do eat every day. So yeah, so those will be eaten. But the others, what I will do is I'm going to wash the jars off, and then once they're washed, I'm going to put them away on a shelf I've actually designated for my canned goods. Okay, I hope this has been a useful video for you. And if you have any questions, please put them down below. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have about canning. Today, if I have time, the plan is to go and get myself some beef because I really want to get into my meal canning. So I want to do some chicken soup, and then I will also do some beef in red wine sauce. And then for the rest of the week, once my canning is done, I don't have to cook. That would work out really well. All right, guys, I hope you're having a good day. Today's Sunday now, and I'm going to enjoy my Sunday. I hope that we get rain, but then we also get some good weather so that we can go and appreciate the outdoors. I do want to enjoy the outdoors despite the fact that I'm not going to be able to do anything for quite a while, which is why I am now just going to do harvest and prepping, and I'm stuck with doing only gentle things that don't require my arm from being lifted too high up for at least a minimum of 1 to 4 weeks, in the hope that the injury I did to my arm, which was not rested when it should have been because I was ignored and told that it was expected and normal as a result of the operation I had, it now means that I'm going to have to rest longer. The good thing is I'm able to work from home because you lose the will to live when you're stuck at home for prolonged periods of time. So I'm grateful that work is letting me work from home rather than me having to actually be off sick again for another 4 weeks. I was given a sick certificate, but I haven't handed it in. It's sitting in my bag in case if the work I'm given to do from home becomes too much and too challenging, then I will have to protect myself by giving in and doing a full rest, because ultimately without my arm I have no career, at least not in the way I'm working now, and I love my job, so I need to get better. So anyway, let's stop there, and you guys have a good one.
No, I ain't afraid of the dark.